Good morning. What a great convention. My name is Felix Grucci. I'm the Republican candidate for Congress in New York's 1st Congressional District. You may know my family for our fireworks displays, but now we're going to have some fireworks of a different kind when I unseat Mike Forbes. Mike Forbes is the first Republican congressman in 30 years to switch parties. He's turned his back on our values, and he turned his back on his Long Island constituency. Values that are America's, values which I believe in strongly and firmly, and I believe, like you all believe, in the families and free enterprise, honesty and integrity. With your help and with your support, this November, we'll retain Republican control of Congress, and we'll unseat Mike Forbes and show the Democrats just how strong the Republican Party truly is. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
That was Felix Grucci, the Brookhaven, Long Island town supervisor, speaking at the 2000 Republican National Convention. Felix Grucci was running for Congress, and Felix Grucci won. And then, in the next election, Felix Grucci lost. Why talk about a one-term congressman? And why now? Because it's the 4th of July, and that means fireworks. And that means fireworks on the 4th featured by Felix's famous family, the Gruccis, which makes now the perfect time to learn about a one-term congressman from New York. So, for this 4th, as you flock to fireworks with your fabulous family, friends, and other figures, have even more fun. Focus on this episode of C-SPAN's The Weekly. Turn down the music and crank up the podcast, because it's all about a former congressman from a family famous for lighting up the night sky, Felix Grucci. Fireworks by Grucci is a family-run business headquartered in Bellport on New York's Long Island. It was founded in 1850. According to its website, from 1981 to 2017, Fireworks by Grucci produced a fireworks display for 8 consecutive U.S. presidential inaugurations, which featured fireworks. The website informs that for the 2009 and 2013 Obama inauguration ceremonies, there were no fireworks. The 1993 Clinton inauguration was one of those with Grucci fireworks. Evan Grossman, director of activities for Bill Clinton's first inauguration, was on C-SPAN in mid-January 1993. He described a specially commissioned poster.
The poster we have here is a poster that was done by a local artist, Susan Davis, that specifically is for the Sunday opening day, and you can see several components of the day. You see people all over the mall, you see the Lincoln Memorial, and you see the fireworks spectacular, which will be happening afterwards, produced by the Grucci family.
7 years later, Felix Grucci ran for Congress. In November 2000, the Republican won New York's 1st Congressional District. In his convention speech at the beginning, you heard him mention Michael Forbes, the sitting congressman who switched parties from Republican to Democrat. But Grucci ended up beating someone else because Forbes lost in the Democratic primary. On November 14, 2000, C-SPAN interviewed new member of Congress, Felix Grucci.
Representative-elect Felix Grucci from New York's 1st District. We probably don't have many fireworks company presidents in Congress. That's how people might know your name. Tell us about the family business.
Well, the family business is 125 years old, and it's been a family business. We've been lighting up the skies and delivering the oohs and the ahs to millions of people, not only around the country, but around the world. We've done last 5 presidential inaugurals, the Brooklyn Bridge Centennial, Statue of Liberty, and the most recent is the Millennium moment here in Washington when we lit up the skies above the Washington Monument and the reflecting pool and the Lincoln Memorial. It was quite an exciting evening.
That was the last time Congressman Grucci mentioned fireworks on C-SPAN, and he never mentioned fireworks during any of his 42 House floor speeches. But he did refer to being a town supervisor, like on March 8, 2001.
As a former town supervisor, I know firsthand how reasonable tax relief can help families and local economies, create thousands of new jobs, provide essential services, and still maintain a multi-million-dollar annual surplus. The hardworking, middle-class families of Long Island's 1st Congressional District and throughout our nation should have their tax dollars back.
Shortly after the 4th of July in 2001, Congressman Grucci spoke about the American flag.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today as an original co-sponsor of the Flag Protection Amendment and ask all my colleagues to join with H.J. Resolution 36's 250 co-sponsors and support the passage of this important measure. The American flag embodies the hopes, the sacrifices, and freedoms of this great nation and its people. The American flag is more than just a symbol. It's the fabric that binds our nation, its citizens, and those brave individuals who have sacrificed to preserve our unity and our independence.
Congressman Grucci's final floor remarks were October 8th, 2002.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before all of America, President Bush declared our war on terror begins with al-Qaeda but does not end there. Without fully disarming Saddam Hussein and his weapons of mass destruction, America and our allies cannot be safe, and the war on terror cannot be won. The safety of all Americans, both here and abroad, is directly threatened by the weapons of terror already developed by Iraq. We must not allow America's cities to become the testing grounds for Saddam's nuclear capabilities, which is just around the corner. We must now act to protect our children, our neighbors, and our future generations from the evils that lie ahead. The case against Hussein and his regime is clear. He continues to stockpile chemical and biological weapons and actively seeks nuclear capability. He threatens his neighbors, and he has stood in defiance of UN resolutions time and time again. Saddam must be stopped before we find him and his evil regime dispensing terror within our borders.
What happened to Congressman Felix Grucci? In the 2002 midterm election, Republicans gained seats in the House of Representatives and took control of the U.S. Senate. Republicans won unified control of Congress. In fact, George W. Bush became the first president since Franklin Roosevelt in 1934 to gain seats in both houses of Congress. But also in 2002, two House incumbents lost their seats, both Republicans and both moderates. Connie Morella in Maryland, she lost to future Senator Chris Van Hollen, and Felix Grucci in Long Island. In both cases, the Democrats were outspent in expensive media markets. We can hear Felix Grucci's eventual demise as a member of Congress play out in C-SPAN programming. Appearing on C-SPAN 2 weeks before the 2002 midterm election, here's top political observer Charlie Cook.
Upset of the night.
Oh, upset of the night. Well, we sort of set the point spread along with Stu Rothenberg at the Rothenberg Political Report, so it's hard for us to pick the upset. I would say the race that's changed the most in the last couple of weeks is a congressional race in New York. Felix Grucci, who's a freshman Republican, and he seems intent on snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. This was a race that nobody was watching. He's made some really stupid mistakes, and now there's considerable polling in the race that shows it dead even, and this is one that just was not even on the radar screen as recently as a month ago that has really, really tightened up.
And here's Charlie Cook again 1 week before the election.
The fastest closing race that we move into the toss-up category is Felix Grucci, and New York won. And I think both sides are now on New York City television. Good Lord. And this was a race that wasn't even on the radar screen 2 months ago.
9 days after the election, freshman Representative Grucci conceded defeat to Democrat Tim Bishop. Political observers blame the loss, in part, on Grucci airing a radio advertisement accusing Bishop of ignoring rape allegations at Southampton College. From a post-election panel of political experts hosted by University of Virginia and National Journal's The Hotline, here's an exchange between Republican consultant Alex Castellanos and UVA professor of politics Larry Sabato.
And remember, no matter what happened there, it couldn't possibly have been as negative as I think your study showed the New York 1 race to be between incumbent Felix Grucci, who lost, to Democrat Tim Bishop. I'd never before seen a campaign that had a 0 positive rating. That is, I gather, not a single positive ad was ever aired by either side.
We did air the dreaded positive commercial.
You had the dreaded positive commercial. That's
several,
great.
So.
That's great. Normally candidates have a bio spot with the kids and the dogs. They just skipped over that entirely in New York. It's really remarkable.
In fact, negative ads in that race caught the attention of this C-SPAN caller 2 weeks before the 2002 election. The caller was from Montauk, Long Island.
One of the sleaziest ads that I've seen is this ad that shows a little girl saying, "Mommy, could I have more arsenic in my drinking water?" That was run generally against the Republicans, and it's been run in New York against Congressman Grucci.
Now, historical trivia. In 2000, Felix Grucci won the seat previously held by Michael Forbes, who as congressman switched parties from Republican to Democrat. He went from the majority party to the minority party. Since Forbes' 1999 switch, 5 sitting Democratic congressmen have switched to Republican. 2 Republicans have switched independent, and 1 independent has become a Republican. But Michael Forbes remains the most recent sitting congressman to switch from Republican to Democrat. Before Forbes in 1993, the last sitting Republican congressman to become a Democrat was in 1973. That was Don Regal of Michigan. As for fireworks by Grucci, on December 17, 2016, in Mobile, Alabama, after beating Hillary Clinton to win the White House, Donald Trump held his last victory rally. He talked about election night and a victory fireworks display he said Hillary Clinton had been preparing at the Jacob Javits Convention Center in New York.
They had the most beautiful stage. In fact, I wanted to swap stages with them around midway through. I wanted to maybe swap. They had that beautiful picture of the country and magnificent. They spent $7 million on fireworks, and they knew something was wrong. One of their people, who's a high-level guy, said, "We made a big mistake. We made a big mistake. We're going to lose." And he was telling that to people. And I felt we were going to win. But then all of a sudden they canceled their fireworks a weekend, and I said, because you know what I found? Fireworks just don't work when you lose. Do you agree with it? Did you ever see one of your football teams, when they lose, have fireworks in the stadium? No. No, it's called depression. But they cancel their fireworks, and then just to be cute, we sent an offer in. We offered to buy their fireworks for 5 cents on the dollar. Right? They had a very good company, Grucci or something. Grucci. They had a great company going to do their fireworks. We offered to buy it for 5 cents on the dollar. We never heard back from them.
And 2 days before the 4th of July in 2019, President Trump tweeted, "Thanks to Phantom Fireworks and Fireworks by Grucci for their generosity in donating the biggest fireworks show Washington, D.C. has ever seen. CEOs Bruce Zoldan and Phil Grucci are helping to make this the greatest 4th of July celebration in our nation's history." And now, a bonus clip from the 53rd presidential inauguration, President Clinton's second inauguration in 1997. C-SPAN rebroadcast a story from Washington's WUSA-TV previewing the fireworks display. On Saturday, January 18, 1997, at 6 p.m., there was a 12-minute show from 10 locations in the city. You'll hear Mike Dunstan of Eyewitness News and Danielle Butler Grucci of Fireworks by Grucci.
They hit 152, electrical current will come through the cable, ignite the electrical match, which will ignite the black powder fuse, burn to the bottom and send off these shells into the air for you to view.
Danielle Butler Grucci has viewed fireworks for 22 years. You see, her family owns Fireworks by Grucci. Seeing it a million times, doesn't she get sick of seeing them?
No, it's a way of life for us. We're used to it, and each show is individual and beautiful.
And even more beautiful to Danielle and the crew is seeing your reaction to their work.
We just hope they go home with a beautiful picture in their mind of our fireworks show and a beautiful smile on their face.
We hope this podcast gives you a beautiful smile on your face, too. That's it for this episode of C-SPAN's The Weekly. Thanks for listening. Happy searching. Happy 4th of July. And for our closing music, we'll hear what accompanied the Grucci fireworks during President Trump's 2017 inauguration.